All right. Well, this is everybody. So let's start. Who all here has actually done sight fishing? Okay, so we have quite a few of you.
I'm new to bass fishing still. You're talking about like seeing the fish, fishing,
Yeah.
visible fish.
Okay, now in bass fishing, typically when you're sight fishing, it's typically in the spring and when they're spawning. So it's what we call bed fishing as bass fishermen.
Okay.
So let's start off with gear. What would you say is the most important piece of equipment as far as, when it comes to sight fishing? What would be your guess? Those of you who, besides Ernie already knows. We've already had this discussion. What would
polarized sunglasses.
There you go. That's it. Polarized sunglasses are the most important aspect when it comes to sight fishing because you can't see the fish. You're not sight fishing. You're just blind casting like you are, any other time of year. So polarized sunglasses. The reason why polarized sunglasses is because they cut the glare. And with polarized glasses, they eliminate horizontal light. So if you have a pair of sunglasses and you don't know how to test if they're polarized or not, you take them and you take your LCD monitor at home and you hold them up like this and you turn them sideways. Mm-hmm. That's the easiest way to test if your glasses are polarized or not. What happens when you turn it left, you won't only be able to see. It actually your lenses turn black. You won't be able to see through them. So that's the number one way to test if your glasses are polarized or not. The next thing would be, in my opinion, is probably your line. You may or may not, agree with me, but fish, when you're bed fishing, aren't necessarily line shy, but you want to make sure you're using proper line because this is close quarters combat. This isn't a long cast, with a long 60 yards of line out and a long hook set. This is here to there. It could be from here to there. It could be quite a bit further, but you're fishing a lot closer. So you want strong line. And second to that, you want to make sure your knot is strong and good. Take your line often, when you're bed fishing. So that'd be the most important thing. After your line, you're gonna want a good reel. High speed is preferable, but not necessary. As kayak anglers, as a kayak angler and most kayak anglers and people who are on a budget, high speed isn't necessarily always your best option because it's not always the most versatile reel. So when I buy a reel, I usually just look for a 6 to 1 or 6 3 to 1, whatever the common ratio is. Yes, you can go 7 to 1, but I just speed on my reeling. That's just me. Next best thing is rods. I only brought 2 rods today. And generally speaking, when you are sight fishing, flipping sticks is pretty much a rod you can flip with is the most important thing. This one here is an iRod, Genesis 2. It's the Morgan's Light Flip Junk Rod. It's a 7'6" rod with a 4 power, I believe. Yeah, 4 power. I believe that's considered fast action. Extra fast, it'd be a lot closer to the tip. But you want something you can flip with, ideally, it's close quarters combat. So you want something you can horse that fish up and out of the cover it's in, because typically when you're bed fishing, she's going to be right up next to some sort of structure. She's going to be next to a piece of wood, a concrete block. She'll be on a tire. She'll be, I say she, but there will be males up too. But typically when you're bed fishing, you're looking for that big female. And as tournament anglers, you only need 3 fish as kayak anglers, whereas on a bass fisher, you need 5. So you're looking for 3. So, there's no sense in spending time on a 12-inch fish when you're trying to look for 3 good ones. You only need 3. You don't need 5. You don't need 10. You're looking for 3. So don't waste your time in those little, if you're tournament fishing. Whereas I'm one of those people, if I'm just out fun fishing, I'll go for that 12 because I just get a kick out of bed fishing. That's my favorite type of fishing. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking about it, right? So, reel and then rod. I believe the next thing I have on my list, I have a little bullet list here, is going to be some way to anchor. You're going to want either an actual anchor, like a 10-pound weightlifting plate tied to a rope, it don't matter, or some way to tie off. Because when you're bed fishing and the wind kicks up and now you're over here and the sun's shining over there or whatever, and now you can't see it. You want to be where you can see it the whole time. If you can't see the fish, you're at a disadvantage. Another thing that can happen is if she's on like a lay down or something, and the way the branches are, if you change position, now you can't get your cast in there because you change positions. So your stakeout pole, your micro anchor, a dumbbell, some way to keep you from moving. That's the most important thing. If you have two ways, you see bass boats, they have, the pro guys, they have two. One, they put one down, they'll pivot. They put two down, they're locked in place. So if you can manage to carry two, keep yourself in position, all the better, because you don't want to move. What's my next? Now we're going to go on to baits. So, honestly, when it comes to side fishing and bed fishing, you can throw anything. But the key to sight fishing is being able to see. And we throw most baits that you throw all throughout the rest of the year, they're more natural color and they'll blend in the bottom and camouflage. So as a sight fisherman, what we typically do is we throw white or chartreuse or something bright as all get out. So most common is white. The thing is that fish are finicky. Sometimes they won't eat that white thing. Sometimes they'd rather have the natural thing. So next best thing, this bad boy right here. If you don't have one of these, and you're missing out. You get one. You can buy a 3 or 4 pack of these. They come in like 4 different colors, like $6 at Walmart. It comes with like a blue, it comes with an orange, and it comes with red and a chartreuse. Or you can buy just straight chartreuse for like $3. But this is an absolute must-have for sight fishing. It's actually really good to have all throughout the year, anyways, because sometimes it's that little bit of it's called spike it. You spike the bottom of it, just the tip, just the tail, some way to make it stand out so when you flip in there, you can see. So, what do I have in here? I've got quite an assortment. Like I said, you can throw just about anything. I've got my more natural colors, and I've got my full-on, stand-up kind of stuff. We've got what we call here's called a it's actually a chigger toad. It's like a chigger craw, but this is actually a toad. It's meant to throw it across the top like a bus frog. Honestly, like I said, it really doesn't matter. I throw this because it's more like a craw imitation, and they like it. So we got that. We got our chartreuse. This is a hula grub. So it's got like a twin tail grub with a hula skirt on it. Hawaiian hula. That's always a good option. We got a trick worm. With a trick worm, you could rig it wacky. You could rig it Texas. You could drop shot it. It doesn't really matter. Honestly, if I'm going to use it, I'm probably going to throw it drop shot wacky. Put it right in the middle of the drop shot. The reason why the drop shot is because it's suspended. The thing is, you can with the drop shot too is if they want it on, they don't want it on the bed, you can drop it down. And you can pick it up and shake it. Let it down, pick it up, and you can shake it. And when it's suspended there, it almost irritates them more. Sometimes they'll only eat it when it's on the bed, but most of the time, when it's up a little bit, they eat it better. At least in my experience. One of the most popular ways to bed fish is actually with a jig. Realize this is a swim jig. Well, it's a swim jig, and it's probably a little more clear rather than white, but you can see it, and it's harder to find a white jig. Typically, usually when you find a white jig, it usually is a swim jig. This has got a Reaction Innovations Little Dipper on here. I'm not sure the color on it though, but this is a jig. Throw it up there, pitch it up there. You can see it really easily. Has anybody ever seen a nest raider before? To a river to sea. little harder to find now. Kind of looks like a newt or salamander or a lizard kind of thing. But that's really popular. You can also throw like a lizard or something. But this one's really good because it's got it's almost like a swim bait. The head is weighted, so you can drag it into the bed. You got your Almighty Cinco. This one is actually I believe this one's a knockoff of some kind. Bubble gum. Notice it's bright. You can see it. Your Almighty, just a regular old jig with the twin tail grub on the back. I believe this is a watermelon. We can pass this around. You guys want to look at the stuff. You guys all probably have seen most of it anyways. Really, in reality, what it boils down to is you just have to trial and error. Water clarity determines it more than anything. Honestly, if the water's of course, Brian. Water clarity determines what to use more than. Huh? Yeah, I wish.
Wow. What a sentence.
Yeah, if they wanted to sponsor me, yeah, maybe they'd be free samples, but.
I got $1.
Yeah. So you grab the Nest Raider? Yeah, that's like, I think it was like $10 a package. It's like $5. But anyway, so, water clarity determines it more than anything, because if you can see, you can see. When it's a problem, if the water's a little dirtier, then you're going to want something you can see a little bit more. So water clarity determines it more than anything, and if fish doesn't like one thing, try another thing, because sooner or later, you go through enough baits, you'll find something she'll eat. That's also why it's really handy to have a fishing partner, somebody there with you, because you'll throw up and then you'll throw up, and make things a lot faster. But that's also something you do in a bass boat rather than a kayak. You're fishing by yourself, generally speaking. So you tell I'm a bass boat transitioner. I transitioned from a bass boat anyway. So typically time of year. It changes every year. Last year we had a much earlier spawn than we did this year because we had a longer season of rain, and last year we had a warmer season and the sun was out a lot more. But ideally, right around 60 degrees when you get on the water, 60 degrees in the morning. That's what your fish finder says. Go looking. Go look in the backs of coves, the places where there's less water movement, because where there's no water movement, the fish will go up, the water will stay warmer. When there's water flowing in, it cools things down, and the cooler water will be moving in. But if you can find somewhere where there's no current, that's why if you're ever out at Paradise Point, like right when the water's like 58 degrees, those guys, they know. You see, if you're at Paradise and you see hundreds of bass boats going by, the reason why is because they're all going to telephone cut. Because back in the telephone cut, it's warm. That's the warmest water. It's one of the first places in the entire delta to get spawners in there. So keep that in mind.
It's an 8-mile round trip, though.
Yeah. Well, for us, yeah, in a kayak, yeah. But those bass boats, that's nothing. But if you see those guys running back there, it's coming, because that's what it means. You can go back there if you want, have fun, make that long run. But the thing is, actually on that point, just right there on that bridge, if you can make it to the bridge, all those fish will be staging right there underneath that little bridge right there. So that's a really good pre-spawn. See those guys going back there out there. You sit out there on the outside corner, on that deep drop off. So
Water was 64 for this afternoon.
oh man, it's on her now. It is on her now.
Lodi Lake's already had some spawn.
Oh yeah. The cool thing about the Delta versus the reservoirs is the reservoirs, the spawn typically happens, it goes in waves. And typically the waves are around the full moon. When the full moon comes, that's, I don't know why or how it just does. It affects fish. And when you have the full moon right around the right temperature, you have a massive wave. And we just had a full moon. So we probably had quite a few spawners, but what's probably gonna happen is we have the most of them will be on the next full moon, and it'll be pretty much over, and it'll be tapering out after that. You'll still find spawners well into May, whereas in the Delta you'll find them out you know, in the middle of June, like, because it's the way that system works.
Hey Wes, what about isolated bodies of water?
Isolated bodies of water, like a pond or something.
Like a pond. I fished a pond last year, and I pulled about a 9-pound female out of this pond. I must have raided a nest or something, like June or July. Like very warm water, isolated. But like
It can happen.
Does that affect, like, do you get late spawns in there?
We got to figure when, you know, how am I, best way to, okay, you have a swimming pool. You have a small one of those little doughboy swimming pools. That puppy gets pounded with the sunshine, what happens? It gets hot fast. It's a smaller body of water, less water, not as deep. You get a 12-foot pool, you know, Olympic size, and the sun beats down on it, beats on it. It's going to take a longer period of time for it to warm up.
Right.
So typically in a smaller pond, they're going to be spawning a lot earlier. Now it is known, it's not widely known, but it is known that oftentimes a female bass will spawn multiple times. It won't just be one time. And it's actually been studied that sometimes they'll have a spawn in spring and they'll have a spawn in the fall.
Okay.
It's not super common, but it happens. So you can find a bedfish way late,
Right.
but typically guys aren't really looking for them anymore because that's that part of the season. You're not going to pattern fish in the fall looking for
Right.
spawners.
Yeah.
You can pattern them a lot easier in the spring when there's a plethora of them and you can just go down and pick them off the bank.
How do you know it was a spawner? Did you sight fish it? Did you see it?
I didn't sight fish it, no, but the size of the fish and the time of the year,
They feed in the shallows all.
Oh yeah.
it wasn't shallow.
Yeah.
It could have been deep. I mean, I would say it would probably just be catch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
fair
well,
enough.
the thing is, too-
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So, I mean, they'll especially feed on the bluegill. The bluegill will set shallow.
Because I was fishing a
Absolutely,
black
and they'll keep them fat too. Those bluegill will take up their entire stomach and push
Right.
it out and make it look even
Because
bigger.
I was fishing a black and blue football jig.
I remember that picture.
Okay.
Yeah.
With the baby D-bomb, and I got about a 9-pound female.
Yeah, she very
And
well could just
that,
been
that was
feeding.
like
Could just
July,
been-
that was like July or August.
Yeah.
It was pretty late. So
Yeah, in a
was-
pond, I
was
wouldn't
surprised.
in a body of water that doesn't have constant new cooler water flowing in.
Right.
I would, if I was a betting man. Actually, I'm a betting man. Gambling's my fill out poker. But anyways, seeing as I am a betting man, I would not bet that it was a spawner because it's in a small body of water.
Okay.
Cool thing about that though is if you have like your favorite pond somewhere you can
Right.
walk to, whatever.
Well, see, I'm here,
Really
to
good
get,
time.
I'm here to get educated, so that
A really
that
good
teaches
time
me
if
a
you
lot,
want
so.
to go practice bed fishing. Find a pond and go after the first little stretch of sunlight you've got. They'll be up shallow, man, because that shallow water heats up a lot faster. Because
Right.
this is versus this much water versus this much water is
Right.
the shallow water is going to heat up a lot faster. So my dad always told me, hey, that pond out there, and XYZ. He's like, I bet you if you got a stretch of sunshine in February, you got a week straight of sunshine in February, you can go beat those banks. It can happen that early. So, with that being said, reservoirs are known. I realize we're all pretty much delta fishermen here, but our reservoirs hold some monster bass, right? And if you really want to go sight fishing and you really want to learn, I highly recommend you go to a reservoir. One, because the water's clear and you can see. Whereas when you fish the delta, you have to you can see a fish and she's on a bed on a high tide. You might be able to see her, but you don't know where her bed is, so you're just kind of idly casting. You have no idea. You want to see your bed, you probably have to wait till low tide to really see her. I wouldn't wait till low tide because big fish, somebody else might come pick it off. But with high tide, she's that much more water overhead, that much harder to see, more current, this, that, and the other. But on the reservoir, you don't have to worry about that. If anything, this time of year, our water is actually rising, and some of our reservoirs are rising faster than others, but reservoir is much easier. That's where I grew up doing it. That's where I'm feeling most comfortable. Plus, the thing is, on a reservoir, you typically don't have weeds, you don't have as much cover, and what happens is those females or those bass will get up there on a shallow rock. That's what they're using. They're using rock, and it'll just be one big rock, or it'll just be one stretch, and she saw like this little twig laying on the, laying down, and they'll just nest up right next to it. Like, if you really want to practice and learn how to read the fish, and get good at it, that's the best way to do it. Is just get up there. There's reservoirs, there's clear water reservoirs, because you can see. That's how I would do it. So, with that said, how do you really approach it? Your best bet is to get as far away from that bed and that fish as you can. Get to the point where you can barely see her, because if you can see her, she can see you. It's just kind of logic. Sometimes you can get right over top of them. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes they're super skittish. Sometimes you'll have to, you go right by it and she'll swim off. And so you know she was there, so you circle around, and then she'll be back up there. So you make a couple pitches at her or whatever. The idea is you want to keep as much distance as you can, because it keeps them, sometimes you can, like I said, sometimes you can be on top of their head, you can poke her with your rod. You get that close. One advantage, okay, I realize I skipped over this. If you don't have a kayak you can stand on, you're at a disadvantage. Okay? Because the game is being able to see. There's a reason why all those guys in Florida on the salt flats have those massive platforms on the back of their boats, because they can see. They can see that, that school of fish way over there, 200 yards away. An elevated eye is much more has a much easier time being able to see. So if you can't stand your kayak, you're at a disadvantage. Now, another thing is, I realized I switched. I switched to a Hobie. There's a reason why. Because my hands are free to fish. Now, when you're bed fishing and you've got a paddle in your hand, you're going to be paddling and looking. Because that's what you're doing. You can sit on a spot and fish all you want, but me, during this time of the year, I'm looking for fish. My eyes are in the water. So, in a Hobie or in a pedal kayak, you can cast and reel. And look, I'm still going. I'm burning bank. I've got like a spinnerbait on. I've got a lipless crankbait. I've got a swim bait. Something I can just cast and reel. Just no thinking to it. But literally, my thoughts are, where is that fish? I'm just doing this full time. If you're not doing, if you're casting, versus casting in a pedal kayak versus, in an actual paddle kayak, I'm making, 30 to 60% more casting more in a day. Whereas if you're fishing for sight fishing, and if all I'm doing is burning bank and I'm picking them off, well, you're going like this, and now you're spending all the time on this one fish, and now you're paddling down, and you don't have nothing. It's not like you're fan casting. You're literally fishing this one fish. You're not rolling the dice and hoping you can catch one that just on a fluke. So there's that. So how do you really approach it? Distance. Distance is key. You want to keep as much distance as you can. Do you even know what a bed really looks like? I realized I went over this kind of, okay. You ever seen those movies and kids go in the attic, climb in the attic and they're rummaging through all of grandma and grandpa's, relics, right? And there's that thick layer of dust on that book or whatever, and they go, goes everywhere. Or you take your finger and you rub your finger across it. Well, that's kind of what happens with a bed. What happens is all that silt settles on the bottom, and the male will go up and he'll fan it off. He'll clean it off. So what you'll do is you're looking for some sort of indication that the silt has been removed. A lot of times it'll look circular-ish, obviously not perfectly circular, but it'll have, they can be this big, they can be as big as this rug, they can, sometimes they'll literally make a bed on post. You know, like fish are weird. I don't know. You know, it can be this small, but you're looking just for something that's not. The bottom looks cleaner than it should be. You know, that's usually the first indication. It's usually circular in shape. Just looks like somebody. You know, like the umpire went and took the brush to the home plate and just kind of, you know, cleaned it off. It's just pretty much what you're looking for typically. Some sort of indication that the fish is banded. But typically, also, is when you're paddling along, you'll see a fish swim off. So that kind of helps narrow down your area. So you okay, I know there's a fish. There's a bed somewhere in here. Okay, now you're looking and you're like, oh, there it is. And what happens is a lot of times it'll circle around, and then it'll literally just post up right on top of it. So that helps. We think. Train of thought here. So how do you approach it? You want to be from distance. Something like, you know, typically there's a that's what I'm looking for, like a sweet spot. So you'll pitch up there. So that way I don't hurt myself. Typically you'll pitch up there. Pitch up there, and you always want to go past, because you don't want to drop it around your head, because if you go past, you'll be in the bed longer. Whereas if you put it right in the bed and you work it out, you won't be in the bed as long. So you work it past, and then you just kind of jiggle it in there, and you just let it sit. With a drop shot, you can cut. You know, obviously there's not water at resistance, but you can just pick up on it. Pick up on it and hold it there and just shake it. Shake the slack. She'll come up and she'll eyeball it and swim around it and look at it. And then shake it a little bit more. And then just open them out. Your bait won't be there anymore. You just have the hook. That's pretty much what it works out to be. That simple. Sometimes you'll think sometimes she'll block your view and you won't really see. So like you're just antsy and you set the hook, so you piss her off. She'll just swirl around, or some way somehow she'll just swirl on it, or she'll just look at it and stare at it. That's what you want. You want her looking at it. You want her up and close. You don't want her way over there just looking at it from a distance. If she's all way over there in the distance, you're gonna have a hard time getting her. She's too scared. She's not committed. You just shake it. Like, here, fishy, fishy. Like, literally, you can sit there and talk to her. Hey, fishy, fishy, fishy.
I'm gonna come over and eat that and keep going.
Drop shot's one of the easiest ways because you can leave the weight there on the bottom and you can just shake the slack. Whereas if you're using something like a Texas rig something. And also on a Texas rig, I peg it. When you're bed fishing, you don't want that weight, 3 feet away. You want to be able to, you want that weight right there. So that way, for whatever reason, if that weight affects the hook set, I just rather fish on the safe side. The thing is with this is that I can't really do much with it. If I shake it, it moves, and now it's 6 inches further, or 2 inches further. And I shake it, and now it's closer to me again. You see a lot of the pros will do this. Like, they just kind of shake their line, and just grab their line and just kind of jiggle the line. That works too. With it on the bottom too, she'll nose down. You want them nosing down. If they're not nosing down, something's wrong. You can bump her, flip it out there and just bump her. It's not setting hook. It's just kind of moving it and have it hit her on the side or something, and it makes them angry. It makes them agitated. It thinks it's trying to attack her. And what's on the bottom, she thinks the premise is that it's eating her eggs, or eating the eggs, or trying to eat the eggs. And that's the whole premise. They don't want that eating its children. You wouldn't want someone eating your children, kind of thing. So that's how that works. realized I'm talking about baits already. The idea is typically, if you're not going to go for seeing it visually, a white or chartreuse, you're going to want something that replicates its predators to the nest. And typically, those are carp and bluegill. Typically, so or crawdads. Crawdads not so much, but yeah, it happens. That's why if you have a carp swim bait, that's always a really good one. And another thing to note is if you're ever out and you see a bunch of carp in the area during this time of year, just get out of there, because the bass will chase them off. If there's carp in there, there's not any bass in there. Go ahead.
What about Huddleston bluegill swim baits?
Absolutely.
For fishing?
Absolutely. Matt Lures makes one, and I have one somewhere, but I think my cousin borrowed it or something. And it sits beautifully on the bottom. It actually it'll sit a little bit nose down with its tail up a little bit.
Okay.
They're like $25, $30 though.
The only reason I mentioned Huddleston is they have a weedless bluegill. The hook sits just below the swim bait body, and when you set hook, the hook comes through, but the bait sits.
And most of the time, bluegill swim baits, it's typically in bed season.
Right.
Post spawn when the bluegill are spawning.
Right.
And you want that fish to look like it's nosing down, it's eating off the bottom.
Yeah.
That's kind of that's what the bass is doing, is defending its dead, something to eat from eating and taste. So that's pretty much how that works. You flip it out, you flip whatever you want out there, past the bed, bring it to it, and sometimes you won't get any attention from them. You flip it over there, try it over there, shake it over there, until you find that one little spot. So there's always there's just that spot that just gets there, just pisses them off more than anything, and they'll hone in on it and just beeline right to it.
So do you like the drop shot more than the Texas rig?
It just kind of depends. I feel like I get them to eat a lot faster when I use on a drop shot. Something about it, because I think it's more like in their face and more at their level, rather than having actually nose down on it. And the thing is too is when you're fishing on a drop shot, is you're not really leaving any slack in the line, because you're shaking the slack in the line. You kind of keep it tight. Keep it tight. So when that fish sucks it in, you feel it. That like instantaneously. You don't have to watch your line, wait for your line to jump. If you're far away and it's something that's harder to see, you do have to pay attention to your line a little bit more. But when you have, on the drop shot, your line's typically tight. You feel them sucking in, and there's no questions asked.
Is that the same for all drop shot, or just specifically to bed fishing?
Specifically for bed fishing, but even then, when you're drop shotting and you're dragging it, oh look at that, it's lovely. When I drop shot on a reservoir, a lot of times I'm dragging it behind me. Just dragging it behind me, just kind of imparting action, shaking it a little bit, And so my line's already kind of tight. I pretty much I can feel the weight on the bottom.
Right.
You're not pulling it, you're shaking the slack.
Right.
So when anything grabs, when you can feel your weight, you don't have much slack in there. And anything grabs onto it, there's no questions asked.
I'm just asking because personally, when I fish drop shot, it's semi-slack. Like I don't fish a tight, bounce it around. I will if I think that's what the fish want.
Well, the idea with drop shot is you're bringing it off the bottom. When you leave slack on it, it sinks your bait. Typically, that's a floating worm some kind. Your hook's going to float go to the bottom, and now you're drop shotting. You might as well just be throwing a Carolina rig or throwing a Texas rig, because now you're waiting for the bottom.
Could be until you give it the action, because I fish a zoom trick worm, and the leader is the length of the worm. So when I get it up there, it's horizontal presentations on the bottom, horizontal presentation.
The trick worm
on the
floats
bottom.
too.
Right. So you got the little float off the bottom.
Yeah. I'm not like shaking like a madman, like I've got Tourette's or something, but just the little. I mean, much my rod's moving. Like I've seen guys that vigorously, man. Like if you didn't know anybody, you thought they had Parkinson's. Like they're shaking it like crazy.
Right,
It doesn't take much.
Just, I mean,
Because have you ever seen a bait having a seizure? No, it's like it's doing its
I'm
thing.
just asking because anytime I've ever asked anybody about drop shot, I've been told that having a tight line is not what you want. So that's why I'm asking about the.
I'm not saying tight. I'm saying
See, and I've
can you
told,
see like
I've,
it's
I've,
just,
been, I've been told to stay away from that. So that's why I'm asking because I'm here to learn. You're telling me that's not what I should do. I'm telling you that's what I don't do. So I'm asking you why should I do that?
That's just how I've done it, and I've had success doing it.
And if you've had success, that's good. So
That's
that's
how
why
I-
I'm here to learn. So
Yeah. And also I'm used to fishing drop shot in 60 feet of water.
and I'm not. I'm used to shallower.
Casting,
Okay.
see, like doing it, casting it, and and actually retrieving it is a completely different ballgame.
Right.
Vertically sitting here, and watching your graph. That's my
See,
that's my favorite way to fish. I don't know if you've ever done that, but that's so much fun.
I watch
Can't really do it
fish
unless you're in a
during
boat,
the
but
Yeah, there you go.
See, I fish Folsom Lake a lot. I live in Folsom, so I fish Folsom Lake heavily. And usually I fish 30 to 40 feet, which is the max I usually go, depending on water temperature, because that affects fish movement. But usually I don't fish drop shot much over 40 feet. So that's why I'm asking.
I've done it. I caught fish in 100 foot of water, man.
I don't doubt you have, but
It's
that's
a lot.
but in
So
Folsom
much
Lake
fun.
I've never caught anything there. So especially targeting back.
It just kind of
So-
depends. Like if you're casting and you're bringing it to you, I mean, I can understand. But usually when I'm fishing,
See, I've done.
When I
I've done
fish drop
straight
shot,
from the
it's-
vertical
it's
presentations.
it's dragging behind me.
See, I've never dragged behind my kayak. It's been
Oh, yeah.
in front of me or off to the side, watching my.
Even
drag,
then, when I'm
watching
doing it
my
in front of
bait
me,
dance.
I'm not. It's slow. I'm slowly dragging it. It's not. It just.
See, I do slow hops, like slow
Yeah,
hops.
I don't-
But at the same time, my leader.
I don't. When I think of hopping, I think of Texas rig. That's just me.
Okay.
Because this is typical. This is a imitation is a bait fish of some kind or another fish of some kind, and you don't see it. You don't really see.
See, that's not what I'm doing though. It's bait on the bottom, like little hops, just like minute. Because my leader's the length of my bait. I put my weight at the tail of my worm.
Right.
So it's this very minute, finesse movements, and that's where I've got especially right now with I have a broken hand. So right now with my broken hand, all of the fish I've been catching from the bank because I can't paddle right now, have been drop shot fish with the weight at the tail of my bait, and it's been killing it. I mean, it's been absolutely killing it.
Okay.
So
If it's not broke, don't fix it.
right, but
it's not broke,
I'm
don't
here to
fix it.
learn. If I can catch more fish this way,
Yeah.
I'd like to do that. That's why I'm asking you questions.
When I'm drop shotting, I'm not. If I'm moving it, I'm dragging it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not. I deal with drop shots. You want to keep constant bottom contact
Right.
because that weight. If you can't feel the bottom of that weight, you're not gonna go feel the fish.
Okay.
So
And there's times when I don't feel the bottom, so that means I'm
one of two things.
moving it too much.
Either
Possibly.
you're moving it too fast, or you've got a fishing line, you just don't know it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's why I'm here.
Because if you can't feel your weight, you're visiting a reservoir and you're casting up shallow, our base is steep. So if you're moving it and you can't feel the bottom, one, your weight's too light.
See, and I fish lightweight because.
When you're fishing uphill, it's different.
Right.
You should be able to feel your weight because you're dragging the puppy even shallower. Whereas when you're
Right.
fishing it shallow, moving it deep, you're likely that the weight's just not hitting the bottom yet. Because
Right.
you pulled it off, and now
What
it's
about-
now it's got to fall even further to get to
What
the
about
bottom.
vegetation towards the bottom, though? Would you? Because I mean, a lot of the smaller. I fish a lot of ponds and small lakes.
Right.
So should I be fishing a heavier weight to feel, or should I?
Not around vegetation.
Okay.
You don't want that weight to go all the way through, and then
Lose your bait.
when you're
Snag or
fishing when you're fishing across vegetation, you want the lightest weight that you can get away with, and that's typically what you're going to want to do anyways. You want the lightest weight
The
possible.
lightest weight I fish drop shots like quarter ounce. That's it.
The lightest?
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's actually pretty heavy, dude.
16.
Because I like to.
Wow, that's
I like to feel.
That's pretty heavy.
An 8.
Yeah, like this is. I don't know what this is. This might be 3/16.
It's
Like
like my shit.
that. Look how
I'm
tiny
on
that one is.
now.
Look how tiny that is. Like
No, that's too small. Yeah.
That's what you want. You want as little weight as possible. I fished with an older gentleman one time in a tournament, and I swear, the guy was fishing with a 1 ounce cylinder drop shot weight. Dude, that thing was like this big, and he's dragging it like his rod's bending over in half, and I'm like, dude, he's like, yeah, I can feel it. Yeah, you can feel it. You got a 1 ounce weight in my bottom. Like, no, of course.
So I got my truck outside. I'll show you my tackle.
Yeah.
I would like you to tell me what you think, because I might be missing a lot of opportunities, and obviously I don't want to if I'm fishing a tournament where I need
if it's not broke, don't fix it. If it works for you, go for it.
If it works for you, but it could work better.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So it could
Ideally, you want the lightest weight always that you can get away with.
right.
If the wind is blowing, obviously you want a heavier weight, so now you can keep your bottom contact. You can feel the bottom. So you're not like, am I on the bottom? Am I on the bottom? Is that the fish? You know, what's going on? You want to be able to feel. If you can't feel, how are you going to know you got to bite? That's the idea. So that's why you want the lightest weight possible for that fact. You don't want a super heavy weight because now the fish is going to suck it up, and now it's like, wow, why is it so heavy? Blow it back out. Yeah, way off in left field, huh? Or right field. What else we got?
How many inches is that weight from your hook?
Honestly,
Is that just a tag?
when I'm bed fishing, I won't go more than 6 inches. I won't go more than 6 inches. I actually like 4 inches a little bit better, but that was a trick worm. It's a little bit longer, and so that's why I picked it up a little bit more. And it was wacky. That's about the only reason why I would pick it up and make the leader a little bit more. Has anybody seen that? What is that? The home wrecker? That guy? Has anybody seen that? It's like a hair jig, but
Yeah.
the guy tied it and looks like a bluegill
That thing's so
with a
nice.
little drop shot weight on it.
Yeah.
Like, that when you shake that thing's barely off the bottom. The idea is that it's in there eating the eggs and it makes the fish upset. So if it's not on the for whatever reason, drop shot isn't on the bottom, but they eat. I think it's more in their face a little bit more. That's why they don't like it. So if you're not drop shot, you're throwing something right on the bottom. So we've got, let's see. Yeah, sometimes you'll get the fish just kind of nip at it. But this, you'll just pick it, just suck at it, and just nip at it, and then you shake a little bit, and then it'll come out of the bed, and you got to flip back up there, and bring it back, and she'll nip at it. If she's nipping at me, she's about ready to eat it. So you better be prepared. And the thing is, too, with bed fishing, it's not like when you're out there fishing and she sucks on that Cinco and she swims off. You know what happens? She sucks it out, she swims a little bit, and she blows it out of her bed. She sucks it up and she swims out of her and blows it out of her bed. She doesn't hold on to it. So when you don't see your bait, you set the hook. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You don't wait. You don't wait to feel the bite. You wait for that. When your bait is gone, you set the hook. Because if you don't, you'll miss it. A lot of times you'll kind of whatever, and you'd be half a second too late. You start blowing it out of her mouth, and you're like, I missed her. That's when you're like, you want to break your rod over your leg.
Yeah.
So you flip back up there. She eats it once, she'll eat it again.
Right. Like, oh yeah, I played with one. Sucked it out and spit it out 10, 12 times.
I don't know how many times I've been up fishing, and I'll literally hook a fish, release it, swim back up, flip back out there, hook it again. It happens. I had a bedfish last year on Tuolumne, right across from the ramp at Fox Grove, and I saw her first thing in the morning. Flip up there. Took me forever, and I didn't have a stakeout pole. I was ill prepared, and I started drifting around and flipping around, and I come around her like this. I'm like, you're trying to set the hook like this. Like that's pretty much what I did. I was backwards hook set. I set the hook, and she had it. She comes around in the front, and she comes off. Bummer. Oh man, super disappointed. I'm like, you watch. I'm gonna come back at the end of the day on my way in, and and that fish is gonna be right there, and I'm gonna get her. Sure enough, I went back at the end of the day. She's there, and I got her. It happens. So if you stick a fish, and they're swimming off, and it comes off, come back. They'll be there. The only thing is with kayak fishing, we can't use the same fish. You can catch fish and measure it, and then release and catch it again and measure it again. I don't know. That's kind of it's like a gray area. You're not supposed to use the same fish, but you caught her twice.
If it grows in 4 hours, use it, man.
Could you wade in?
That's where I'm like, I was thinking like the moral gray area. Like, how does that work? Like,
Could you wade in a bass tournament twice?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think it's right, but like,
no.
but you come back later on the day and the shade's different, the light's different, the fish looks a little bit different. That's I don't like the idea, but
It has to be a visibly different fish.
it could happen. That's one of the bad one of the bad things about
So earlier you're talking about line selection. You're saying the fish aren't,
they are super line shot.
They're not line shot. So what do you use them? 65-pound braid, 50-pound braid, 30-pound braid. It's like when you're flipping your baits out here, it looks like braid.
Yeah, this is braid.
Okay.
This is all stuff geared towards fishing the delta. The delta fly fishing is a different animal because you have the tide and the water's dirtier.
Yeah,
And a lot of times you will not ever see the bed. You just see a big empty hole in the weeds, and you just know there's a fish there. You see her in there, sitting there. You see maybe her fin sticking out of the back of the water. Just like this, no water over her back, but you know the bed's there. You flip up there and you fish for it, and you wait for her. Obviously you can see her, but you can't see her bed.
Okay.
That's why I say if you want to learn how to bed fish, you go to the reservoirs because our water's clear and you can see. You can see 10 feet down.
So you'll throw braid in the delta. I throw nothing more than 15-pound forker.
If you're not throwing braid on a delta, you're throwing 15-pound fluorocarbon and you're hooking in that 10-pounder,
Come in the boat.
good luck. It can happen.
It does happen.
See,
It can happen, but I'd rather increase my odds.
See, depending on the rope I'm setting, the setup I'm throwing, I'll throw 65-pound braid or I'll throw 16-pound.
If you're around structure, I'm not throwing 50-pound fluorocarbon. Fluorocarbon's brittle. You just get a little nick in that spot, that stuff's gone. It's toast. There's no forgiveness in fluorocarbon. And when bed fish are, they are on or around structure. They want protection. They don't want nothing messing with their eggs. They don't want nothing messing with them. They're there to do their business. There's a reason why you close the door when it's nookie time. Like, you want privacy.
Right.
That's the idea. They want privacy. They want shelter. They want protection.
Yeah, I like to have the
It's a bed. It's their home.
I like to have side
That's a new analogy.
fluorocarbon for that. So.
You want privacy.
That's a new analogy.
I don't want. Kids knocking on the door, like, "Hey, go away!" That's what it is. Another bass swims by and they're chasing it off. Get out of here! It's time for fun time. Go away! That's what they're doing. It's it's really what it boils down to. They want nothing. They want as much distance between them and the next person over. Fish over, I guess.
One more thing. Your reels, one's left hand, one's right hand.
Efficiency.
Is that just ratio?
No, I just all my reels before were right-handed, and now I'm starting to pick up all left-handers.
Okay.
Left-handers are just more efficient because look. Yeah, I don't have to change hands. I'm literally doing this.
Let's not get that.
No, I was curious about it.
Honestly,
I know some guys fishing both, some are one or the other.
It's all about efficiency.
Okay.
Because that opportunity that you have, that fish, she's ready to go, and you flip up there, and she swirls on it, or you set the hook and you miss, and if you wait too long, like if you don't get back in there, she may just completely be turned off. She may give up. She may be done. You might have just nicked her or something, and now she's pissed off, and then she swims away. You scared her to death. So if you can't, sometimes the difference between getting her and not getting her is milliseconds. Like, it's flip up there, shake, she swims, miss it, flip back up there, That's why,
Yeah, I'm just curious because I know some guys can fish either or Some guys will have, majority left hand, but one right hand reel for a particular presentation.
It's
So
all
that-
about
that-
efficiency.
That's why I'm asking.
It all boils down to efficiency. And the way things are going, I'm probably going to end up getting all left-handed retrieve.
Okay.
Now, there are guys who go out there and they'll use a spinning rod. That fishing. It's doable.
Aaron Martins would not use it.
I'll spin rod. I'll spin rod.
Yeah.
Definitely.
He did
so
it.
good at that.
He did it.
stuff.
But the thing is, he's not doing with 6-pound tests.
No, I'm not gonna.
He's doing it. He's doing it with 10.
6-pound
He's
test.
doing it 10, 12, 15. Like
I
he's
drop
doing
shot. I
you know?
drop shot 12 pounds. Yeah, I'll do that on the spinner all day.
Now on the reservoirs, I'm not throwing braid.
No.
I'm not throwing braid. I'm
I-
throwing mono or I'm throwing
Like I said,
fluorocarbon.
I live 5 minutes from Folsom Lake. Like 6-8 pound is my go-to fluoro. for
Yeah,
the
if I'm
lake.
bed fishing, I probably won't throw anything lighter than 8. Just to be on the safe side. And 8 probably pushing it quite a bit.
It's usually my minimum.
Yeah. 10 are probably a little more comfortable, but 10 pound on a ferry stick is kind of like
So I'll do 8.
it just
pound.
feels
Like
wrong.
my minimum is
It's too
8
big,
pound on a
bulky.
spinner for drop shot, and that's like the least I'll go.
Yeah. Most time when I'm drop shotting, I'm throwing 6. Pretty much
Really?
6 is about all I ever throw on a spinner rod.
You're a brave man.
6.
Yeah.
Dude, there's guys that throw 4 in a tournament. They will throw 4 in 60 foot of water, 100 foot of water.
No
Like,
thanks. I'll pass.
catching those 13-inch fish, just like trying to
I
get catches. You got a limit.
See, the thing is, I choose my line on the bodies of water I fish.
Yeah.
And the majority of what I fish is structure, weeds, rocks, and stuff like that, and that's how I choose my line.
That's how you're supposed to use your line.
So that's why my minimum is 8 pound flooring. Because the majority of my presentation's on the bottom, so I want floor to sink and be invisible.
Right.
So, I mean, the only mono I fish is top water, and that's it. Everything else is floor or gray. Otherwise,
If the water's dirty and a lot of structure, just go for it. If it's clear and or no structure, go fluoro.
Yeah,
That's just pretty much
for
the
me, it's
go-to.
either floor or braid, and my only mono is top water.
Top
That's
water.
it. That's it. My mono's top water because it floats and it keeps the action at top. That's it. But otherwise, it's
The other thing
floor
with
or braid.
the other thing with mono is it stretches.
Right.
And with the top water, and you're throwing with trebles. If you're not already throwing on a composite rod or fiberglass rod, you're gonna want that extra give because it's a lot of times this big old fish she comes up and she slams it, and you're ill prepared.
Well, that's why. As far as for me, that's why I've dragged.
Yeah.
So, but that's why I'm here.
When you're
Because
setting the
I'm
hook,
here
when
to-
you're
I'm
setting
here
the
to
hook,
learn,
when
so.
you're setting the hook, the drag is the least of your concerns. Well, I wouldn't say that, but it's not.
Because I
It's
set
not.
my drag. I want my drag to set the hook without.
Mono's
setting
forgiving
too
on
much.
a powerful hook set.
You know, I swing for the fence every time, so that's why I play my drag.
You double check my list. What else we got?
Sidetrack again?
Huh?
Sidetrack again?
I pretty much went over everything. Anybody have any more questions, comments, concerns?
So maybe they catch the male first.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, see, when you're in a bass boat and you're fun fishing, you have the luxury of taking the male fishing, and male and female will be up there, and a lot of times the male will be the first one to eat it. You take that male and you throw it in the live well. Now the female is kind of no other option to protect the bed. She's the last one there. When you're a kayak, you don't have that ability. Is that legal to put your fish on a fish grip and go for the female? I mean, I don't think it's right.
No.
I don't think so. So that's the way that it is a lot of times. The male and the female will be there, and you just kind of like just have to pray to God that that buck doesn't grab it. You have if you do catch the male, go down the bank 20 minutes, come back, paddle off 10 minutes, and let that male go and come back, and hopefully that female will be there. A lot of times it'll take the female a little bit before she actually comes up and sits in the bed. So that's what I personally would do. I take that buck, paddle for 10 minutes somewhere, let him go. It's going to take him quite. He can swim. He can swim a lot faster than you can paddle, but don't imagine he's heading back there right away. He's scarred. Another thing is people are like, oh well, you're catching the fish during the spawn. A female will still lay her eggs. She's full of them. She may not do it right away. She'll lay her eggs, and a lot of times, like I said earlier, they will spawn multiple times. Oftentimes, you'll catch that one fish here, and then 2-3 weeks later, you'll catch her, 60 yards down the way. They'll spawn more than once. They've got a lot of eggs. They don't just let them. If you've ever harvested a fish, and you open it up, that's a lot of eggs, man. They don't necessarily get rid of them all in one go. Any more questions, comments, concerns?
Thanks, bud.